Welcome to the Shabby And Man podcast. We are partners, parents, podcasters, broadcasters,
and everything else in between. Namaskar.
What is this episode about? What are you looking at me like that for?
Well, we spent a wonderful weekend away. It's hot, sunny, glorious in England.
Yes.
And I was just thinking about how wonderful it was when, a few rays of sun shine on your face.
A few. Quite a few.
सब कुछ बदल जाता है.
कैसे बदलता है?
You just feel so happy. This is the land of tea and crumpets, clotted cream, scones or scones, of course, if you live up north. Lashings of conserve or jam, if you're like me, not so posh. What else did we see there? We had a bit of lemon curd, high tea. I love high tea.
Yes.
What did you choose? I had Darjeeling. You had Assam.
Earl Grey.
Earl Grey. Very nice. That summer breeze as it whispers through your hair, or whatever little hair I've got left. And to be beside the sea. Am I sounding very poetic?
You are. You said this is the land of tea and crumpets. I thought it was the land of hope and glory.
It is the land of hope and glory, but when you're near the sea, you've got that crispy, battered fish, greasy chips, and mushy peas. Now, I know you don't like mushy peas. You like the regular peas. But mashed wale peas, maza hi kuch aur hai. And as we don't have it at home, the only place I can have it is, in these little roadside places where you get a little polystyrene box.
Seaside places.
With fish and chips in it.
Are you going to put all your British summer analogies in one speech?
No, of course not. But these things warm the cockles of my heart.
And this...
You're finding this very funny.
I'm finding it funny.
This is how I feel.
Is this how you feel? See, I have a love-hate relationship with the British summer because A, it's barely a summer, not what we would call a summer in a tropical country like India, which is where I grew up.
What did someone famous say, that summer lasts 1 week or something?
Yeah, they said that summertime in Britain is the best week of the year. So it is what it is. It is. But then sometimes, it gets too hot. Like 20, 21 degrees in this part of the world feels like about 35, 40 back in India. So I have a love-hate relationship, but I cannot deny the fact that all the things you listed are indeed absolutely delightful, especially when you're having it al fresco, sitting outside, admiring the buttercups and the daisies, reading a book that you like, dreaming about the clouds in the sky.
Of course, I'm downplaying it. I'm not talking about the wasps.
Yeah. Or hay fever.
Yeah.
Most people seem to be plagued by hay fever this time of the year. But it is very glorious. And we had the good fortune of getting away because summer has taken its time to arrive this year. It's very late. And the first weekend that there was a bit of decent amount of sunshine, we were out of London and it was absolutely glorious. I think what adds to the atmospheric summertime subtext is the rich tapestry of history that is strewn across the British Isles.
I think we were very lucky that just an hour by train away from us.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful countryside places.
वैसे तो 10 minutes away from us, the countryside actually officially starts.
I mean places where we don't normally go.
Yeah, that's true. So that was that. We had a wonderful weekend away. And
on social media, just before we finish wrapping up about summertime, I read somewhere on social media that the big dilemma is this is probably for women, but what to wear, when the heat's out. And the general consensus was that if it's between 15 to 20 degrees...
You're talking Celsius, by the way, not Fahrenheit, people. Please don't think...
Celsius.
Yeah.
If it's between 15 and 20, you need to wear jeans and a hoodie. If it's between 20 to 25 degrees Celsius, maybe you can show an arm and a leg. An arm or a leg, by the way. And if it's above 25, go for it. Spaghetti straps, mini skirts,
boob tubes,
everything.
See, that's another thing that I have.
For me, it's banyan and shorts.
Yeah, that's another thing that I find very hard to deal with.
Sorry, banyan ko English में क्या बोलते हैं? Vest या singlet?
Yeah, dono. I haven't seen you in a vest or a singlet for the longest time, though. Are you saying that it hasn't been that hot in this country for a long time?
No, I just don't fit in them anymore.
Yeah, well, there you go. See, that's another problem, of an English summer, because the day starts out in single digits, about 8-9 degrees, and by the time I finish work, it's in the early 20s. So you really have to wear layers and layers and layers and peel off layers as the day wears on. But
another problem is if you're not directly under the sun.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's quite windy and cold in the
shade.
It
is, of course. There is a difference of quite a few degrees in temperature depending on whether you're in the shade or in the sun. But of course, if you're talking about the delights of summertime, then we have to talk about the music festivals, the food festivals, the exhibitions. I think London especially does come alive in the summer months, and you can see that it is very evident on the streets because the whole world is visiting London. But even otherwise, even for us Londoners, there's always a new watering hole to go and check out. There's always a new exhibition that you want to go and, have a look at. There's history continuously being showcased in new, cutting-edge, modern ways.
I know, but because London apni khet hai, it's always nice to go somewhere outside, somewhere which is very historic.
So what is the idiom that you're trying to actually say? Apni khet hai?
It's my own backyard.
Yeah. Ghar ki kheti. Nahin, ghar ki murgi, dal barabar.
You know what I like best are historic towns with the cobble streets, which have got usually Roman history.
Yeah.
York, Bath. I love visiting those sort of places.
So are we going to be visiting any of those this year? I think so. I think
why not?
If we have a nice long summer, it would be nice
to
explore.
We've seen them all.
Most of the big ones we've seen. And they're all set out in more or less a similar way. As in there's a church and there's, as you're saying, there would be a market which would be all like cobbled streets.
Every place is a church. You mean those steeples
and
cathedrals.
And then these sweeping vistas which overlook the rolling hills, and sometimes, of course,
a place not too far from us rather, in Kent is Canterbury.
Yeah, which is where we have been.
We have been quite a few times. That's a very pretty place.
Yeah. Why are you picking out just Canterbury? I think we happen to.
No, because I'm talking about because we're talking about cathedrals.
Cathedrals.
When you think of Canterbury, think of Canterbury Cathedral. That is where Archbishop is from, the main one.
Oh, like that. It's so summertime. We were talking about summertime. We were talking about events that happened during summertime, and there was a rather exciting event that I was a part of 2 weeks ago, or was it a week ago? I can't even remember. It's a week ago. And this was UKIFF, UK Asian Film Festival, celebrating its Silver Jubilee, right? 25
years.
So it was UKIFF 25, and every year.
What does UKIFF stand for?
UK Asian Film Festival.
UK Asian Film Festival.
And it's an annual event, but this year was extra special because it was their 25th anniversary, also because the lineup was rather spectacular. You had Javed Akhtar, Shabana Azmi and Nasreen Munni Kabir on the first day at the British Library, and I had the pleasure of interviewing them for TV, for Sony TV. And 2 days later, it's a full 2-week program normally. And 2 days later, you had other stars join them, like Rajkumar Rao, you had Adil Hussain, you had Poonam Dhillon. Who else was there? Somebody else. Nimra Butcher.
Poonam Dhillon is now a TV star.
She's a TV star.
I only remember, if you said to me Poonam Dhillon, all I can think of is Noori.
Yeah. That's how she started. I believe she started in a film called Shakti, where she played the hero's sister. And one song that she did for that was Gapuchi Gapuchi Gum Gum. That was her debut film, her debut song.
Isn't that from Trishul?
Trishul. Then there must be Trishul. And then she did Noori, of course, which was her second film. So, it was wonderful chit-chatting with all these people and luminaries, I shouldn't call them people, luminaries from the Hindi film industry. Especially Javed Sahab. It was absolutely fabulous to have him officially launch his book. And it's his book in the sense that it's the closest that we'll ever come to a memoir or an autobiography, because...
Now, you've met him many, many a time.
Yeah.
And you always say that he's got great anecdotes. Does it still hold true?
Absolutely. He's got great anecdotes. He's got a great memory. He's witty. He's funny. He's always willing to take a joke.
So you're a fan, I think.
I'm a super fan. And Nasreen Munni Kabir, who's a renowned film journalist in this country, wonderful lady. So
I remember her very clearly because she was famous in this country, in England, for choosing those movies when we were young. We used to get to see Hindi movies on Channel 4.
In the middle of the night, like 2 weeks in the summer.
But she used to choose them,
I think the word is curator.
Curate them, subtitle them, whatever.
Yes. That is actually one of her feats, by the way. She has subtitled. Has she subtitled? She has subtitled from Hindi to English, or sometimes even Urdu to English. I believe in excess of 300 films. And we're talking about all the classics here as well. So she has published a long conversation with Javed Akhtar in book form, which is called Talking Life. It is book 3 in a trilogy. Earlier they did Talking Films, they did Talking Songs, again talking about their favorite movies and favorite pieces of music from Bollywood. But this was the third book, and this is Javed Akhtar's life in conversation form, which is absolutely fantastic.
And Shabana Azmi was there just to...
Shabana Azmi was there to talk about that talk about the book. But also they've done another fantastic thing. Again, I think this came out about a year ago, maybe even more than a year, maybe 2 years ago. As you know, Shabana Azmi's father and Javed Akhtar's father were both great poets. I think Kaifi Sahab was more famous than Janisar Akhtar because Kaifi Sahab was also a passionate activist. And so they've brought out a compilation of poems, and Janisar Akhtar's poems have been edited by Shabana Azmi, his daughter-in-law, and Kaifi Azmi's poems have been edited by Javed Akhtar, his son-in-law.
Oh, that's very nice.
Very nice. So they were launching that as well. But the day that I met them, the bit that included Javed Sahab, Shabana ji and Nasreen Muni Kabir was purely for Javed Sahab's book launch. And it's always lovely, to be in a historic setting like the British Library. Talk about his book.
That same day that you were at the South Bank BFI, British Film Institute.
Yes.
I was also out because in the late 90s, I was very lucky enough to once, for a little bit I worked in Channel V, do you remember?
Yes.
Which was a music station, by the way. And they did a little concert where they had Junoon, and Junoon was this, they became huge in India, this Pakistani rock band, Sufi rock.
Yeah.
And I got a chance this weekend to see who used to be the lead singer. He's gone solo since then, Ali Azmat.
Yeah.
So it was really good seeing those old songs, Sayoni.
Yeah, Sayoni is probably their most famous
Of course,
singer.
now he does a lot of stuff on Coke Studio. So I really enjoyed the concert as well. A bit loud, I thought, because it was quite a bit rocky, like rock and roll and heavy metalish. So I wasn't quite sure what the aunties were doing there, but they knew all the words.
Yeah, so had he not mellowed in 20 years?
Not really, no.
And how is he on politics? Because Pakistan is in turmoil right now. The political situation in the country is precarious, to say the least. And anyone who's in the public eye, any Pakistani who's in the public eye, takes every opportunity to air their views.
He is quite political.
Yeah.
But he joked about it, saying that I better be careful what I say, otherwise I won't be able to go back.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, so... It's nice. I think this is what we were talking about, the joys of summertime. So much happening, so much going on. And whether you're interested in books or poetry or music or art or food, films, there's always something to enjoy under the stars. There was something that we were very fond of. We haven't done that for the last 3-4 years because it obviously during the pandemic it was stopped. I'm talking about...
When you say we, you talk about you and me?
Yes, I'm talking about...
puzzled look on my face.
No, I'm talking about Somerset House.
Yes.
And Summer Screen at Somerset House.
We watched quite a few movies.
Classics, watching it under the stars.
For all our Shrotas who don't know, let me give you a little background. Somerset House is this old iconic building on the Strand.
Yeah.
It's very old, yeah.
In the heart of London.
In the heart of London. A Strand where you'll find on the Monopoly board.
Yeah.
And what they did was, every year, they show some classic movies. They have some concerts as well.
Yeah.
And they project it onto the actual screen. Not the screen.
The actual
building.
Yeah.
So you watch the movie on the actual building and it's beautiful.
And it starts at about 9, which is when it begins to get dark.
You take your own cushions or whatever. You hire one picnic basket.
Yeah.
And it's great.
It's a beautiful experience. So we've done that as well.
I remember I made you once watch one of my favorite movies.
Oh my God, The Big Blue?
From when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I think you were bored witless.
I was, and not just that, it's my nightmarish film for someone who actually hates water.
It was The Big Blue.
Virtually 90% of the film is shot underwater. But it was a beautiful story. It was a beautiful story. I also remember seeing, not Bridge on the River Kwai. What's the other iconic, about the Vietnam War? What is the other iconic film that we saw? Where Marlon Brando was paid $1 million for just 2 lines.
That's one of my favorite movies, Apocalypse Now.
Apocalypse Now. So we've seen many films there, and it's always a wonderful experience. Coming back to Javed Akhtar.
Yeah, a little bit of trivia. I think the movie where he was paid $1 million for saying 2-3 lines was
The Godfather.
The same year he did 2 movies. He did Apocalypse Now and did a movie called Superman with Christopher Reeve. I think in that he was paid the huge big bucks.
For just kind of barely appearing.
Yeah, I'm not sure though.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone will correct us. If you want to correct me, it's Shabby And Man on what?
On Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. And coming back to Javed Akhtar and Shabana Azmi. Javed Sahib is always fond of telling many, many stories. And, I've just finished reading the book as well. It's, I think, a must read for anyone.
Did you get him to sign the book?
I got him to sign the book. I got everybody to sign the book. Shabana ji, Nasreen, Munni Kabir, she signed it as well. And there are so many beautiful anecdotes, in the book about movies that we've grown up watching, about songs and how they came about actors who were nearly cast in a film but they missed the boat. And those who substituted them, those who were not really the original lineup, ended up becoming superstars thanks to big names rejecting films. And he's always got an anecdote for virtually every film. The one thing that I, which came as a bit of a surprise to me, and the one thing that really touched me was his conversations on Jagjit Singh, the late great Jagjit Singh, perhaps one of the best ghazal singers that India has ever seen, right? And he talks about Jagjit Singh ji because, Nasreen Munni Kabir asks him that you have collaborated since you became a screenwriter, a lyricist. Once the Salim Javed partnership broke up and he started writing songs, Silsila was the first film that he wrote songs for. What was your equation with Jagjit Singh? And he says, funny story. He said that we started off on a, bad note because I had written the lyrics to a song that he was supposed to sing, and there were some edits needed. He'd already done the version, and there were some edits needed. So the producer called me and said, you come to the studio, Jagjit Singh will come there as well. He came 4 hours late, blaming it all on the Mumbai traffic. Didn't apologize. And he came all the way from God knows wherever he came from. He came only to say that I'm very tired, I'm not going to record today, I'll record tomorrow. So Javed Akhtar says that I threw a strop. Not in front of him, but I told the producer, "Aap samhaliye, ye hamare bas ki baat nahi hai." And he said for years and years, then we ignored each other. We would just look through each other at parties until one day he came up to me and said, "Yaar, kya bachpan aaya hai? Chhod yaar, bahut ho gaya. Chalo ek saath kaam karte hain." That is what led to so many wonderful collaborations. They collaborated on albums. They did many tours together. And he says that 2 things. Firstly, he says that he called me once and he said, जावेद साहब एक अमेरिकन प्रोमोटर का फ़ोन आया है, वो कह रहे हैं कि चलिए एक मल्टी सिटी टूर करते हैं अमेरिका का, मैं थोड़ी गज़लें गाऊंगा, आप थोड़े शेर व शायरी कर देना, आई थिंक इट्स गोइंग टू बी अ बिग हिट. So Javed Sahib said this was late in the evening, so I said to him I said, of course it will be a delight, but let me just check my diary and get back to you tomorrow, let me sleep on it. And he said that tomorrow never came, because the very next day he was rushed to hospital, and then of course he passed away a few days later. And the other thing he says about Jagjit Singh is the fact that normally, people are very sweet to you on your face and they don't think twice before backstabbing you if it suits their purpose. He was exactly the other way around. He said that
he was mean to your face.
No, he said that not to his fans, but if you saw him at a party and you didn't know him, he wasn't the warmest and sweetest man.
Aloof.
He was very aloof to the point that many people thought he was extremely arrogant. But Javed Sahib says the amount of charitable work that he did, especially after he lost his son Vivek Singh in very tragic circumstances, he was a changed man, right? And his wife gave up singing completely.
She did. I was just going to tell you an arbitrary story about Jagjit Singh, and you just mentioned it really. But when I used to stay in Bombay with my uncle and aunt, Petter Road, the road behind it is called Vivek Singh Mark.
Named after their son?
Yeah, because Jagjit Singh and Chitra Singh used to live there.
On that lane?
Yeah. And also on that lane was a huge truck parked, because there was this very famous gangster who used to live in that place, and that was his first name.
Haji Mastan?
Haji Mastan.
Oh my gosh. See, your uncle and aunt really lived with the movers and shakers of Mumbai, I have to say.
I know, because opposite them.
Oh, please don't tell me about Prabhu Kunj and the dilapidated building which was Lata Mangeshkar's house. Were you going to say that?
I was.
Well, there you go. So he said that, Jagjit Singh, if people came up to him at parties, he would be extremely standoffish unless he really knew you. But behind the scenes, not many people know just how much charity work he did for so many people, helping family, friends, strangers. And he said, once I went up to him and said, Jagjit Sahib, why don't you talk about this? Log to itna sa karte hain aur bada chada ke itna kehte hain. He said, no, this is how I want it to be. So he said he was truly, and he said, Javed Sahib said that I'm not saying this because he's no more. Truly a man with a heart of gold and a voice like no one else's. So there you go. I had a very busy 2 weeks since we last uploaded the episode. We are actually 2-3 days late.
Yep.
That's another story.
Well, let's tell everyone why we're late. We actually recorded this live from the wonderful place we were in the countryside. And then when I got home,
there were some technical glitches.
All I could hear on my phone was the background noises.
Yeah,
you could hear people walking, birds. I don't know what happened. This kind of churiyas.
Yeah,
churiyas clinking.
Yeah,
but you could actually hear us. Then we thought, should we do it again? And both of us thought we can't do it again. But then we thought, why not?
We owe it to you.
We owe it to you to do it.
We owe it to you because, A, we love doing it. And B, the sound quality is not the best in the world, but we always try and make it as best as we can, considering we are recording it on an iPhone, which is supposed to be very good.
A very old iPhone.
Yeah.
But anyway, it has been recorded now. Second, let's hope this time the sound is okay. We're back home. Home is familiar.
Yes.
We know what we're doing.
And we're back home, back at our dining table, which is our comfort space, which is where we love to, generally record. And by the time we upload the next episode in another 2 weeks, we hopefully will have many, many other interesting stories to share with you. जहाँ भी आप हमें सुनते हैं, जिस भी प्लेटफॉर्म पर आप सुनते हैं, please make sure that you rate, recommend, review, tell your friends about it, and drop us a message. It always makes us so happy when we hear from you, because we have no idea who is listening to this podcast, sitting in which corner of the world, but it's always good to hear from people who take the time and make the effort.
Absolutely. और सुनने के लिए बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद.
Until next time then, should we wrap up?
We should. Bye-bye now.
Take care.